Bless and love, my lord. Welcome to a live interview powered by Red Lion. I'm joined here today by our co-host Dudley. How's it going?
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Hey, it's great to be here.
And what an absolute delight to host Mr. Misan Harriman on our show. How's it going, sir? How are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Whose music is that?
Sorry?
Whose music was that? I haven't heard any of that.
This is our music, sir. How do you
Oh,
like it?
the first track was Grammy ready. Watch out, world.
Yeah, exactly. The second one, we produced it. It's for our upcoming drop. It's gonna be much fun. But yeah, the story is we found a similar song. We changed the lyrics. We got Fiverr artist. We got full license. It was so much fun making it. But it came out pretty good, I think.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, so very nice to have you here on the show with us today, and thank you so much for coming. I think it's the first time we chat, but I have watched a lot of your interviews and you speaking. You are a very charismatic speaker with a great voice. So yeah, it's an absolute. Honored to be doing this interview today with you.
Well, thanks. You guys, I've been in the DMs for years, it seems,
Hmm.
with you and been collecting your magazines and observing what you've done in this space from the beginning. So, I'm just glad you guys didn't run away in the winter. and, and,
No, that's not us.
I know. I'm just glad that that the right people are still in the space, and your team certainly are building right. And I'm honored to join and have a conversation with you.
hmm So let's take things from the beginning and give us a little insight, a little window. How did you end up into NFTs and crypto art in the first place?
Well, I mean, I'm a gamer. I loved video games. So when I was young, I spent all of my pocket money in the arcades. So I was a kid that when we went to Disneyland, I have no interest in rides, and whatever pocket money my parents gave me, I'll go straight to the arcades. And I mean, I'm 45, so in those days, I don't know if any of you would remember things like, gosh, Final Fight, Dragon, Operation Wolf, Afterburner, and then a bit later Daytona. All I did then, of course, Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. But I just played a lot of games, and then when the consoles came, I was obsessed with playing games. And my first sort of metaverse experience, if you want to call it that, was Zelda, especially Ocarina of Time. That was for me. I felt more comfortable in that world than I did in my own world. It was much more than just fun for me. It was, and I'll be real with you, really good for my mental health. So I've never had a problem appreciating and valuing a digital experience, whether it be playing a video game or now, of course, digital collectibles and crypto art. In fact, I first bought a JPEG in September 2013, which is pretty early, pre-blockchain for most people with a
What
company.
was it? What was it?
Well, it was Damien Hirst, and I paid
Oh,
£60 for it, 60. And another great British artist called Tracy Emin. And the provenance, because there wasn't any blockchain, was another certificate with their signature and the date of acquisition and edition number. And I remember being laughed out of every room I went into when I said I just bought a JPEG. Everyone thought I was crazy. So people say they're early. Well, I was 2013 early.
and what about crypto? Did
So,
you
so with with
join
with
up with? Mhm.
well, I was never interested in sort of crypto trading. That's just not my thing. I love art,
Mhm.
and I love collectibles. So I was early with Cardano pre-smart contracts, and then in the early days of Nifty Gateway, when it was a real walled garden and drops were selling out in seconds. a lot of OG whales were doing what they did in those
Oh,
days.
the good days, man. I
The
had
good
so
days,
much
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
That was so much fun, you know?
It was pre people, right? Pre the big
Yeah,
people sale, pre a
yeah.
lot of the DJs coming in, and it was really interesting. And the quality of art, because it was quite curated then, was really really good. This is pre Bored Apes, quite. So I was in Nifty in those days, and then started checking out crypto art, and and then quickly became a degen, like everyone did in the earliest days when it wasn't about floor prices, but it was just about finding out what's dropping, seeing it mint out, being amazed. Nothing was particularly expensive, and so much has changed in those days. And also, I'm an artist myself, right? I'm a photographer, so I, was, I remember when Justin Avasano, when Twin Flames blew up, and I was just so happy to see photography finally get recognition, and have been supporting photographers as much as I can in this space since I joined.
I am one generation behind you. I'm 35, so the games that I was playing when I was a kid were more like Street Fighter and stuff like that. So you were into it.
A little early.
Yeah, more OG stuff. But yeah, the I didn't realize you were into a Nifty Gateway drop so early and in the scene since then. Yeah, that's great to know. And the atmosphere around those drops were very very electrifying. That was great for onboarding. Those twins, they really have a good sense for business. They went from kings of bitcoins to kings of NFTs very fast.
Yeah, and self custody, and even then you could buy it on your credit card, and it was much easier for randoms to just normies to get onboarded. And let's be honest,
100%.
how
Yeah.
many people have been scammed on Nifty? No one. No one's lost their tokens on there. So it's I always
Oh
bring up
well,
this
so
conversation.
far.
Yeah, it'd be one hell of a hack, right? Because it's the same technology as what they have for Gemini. So if that happened, I think the twins would have a even bigger problem than they do now with
I
the
think there
SEC.
was some controversy regarding where their data is stored and if the data for the NFTs, the metadata, are safe.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I
Mm.
remember a lot of pushback for a lot of people saying, and then of course they built the technology where you could quite quickly send whatever you buy on Nifty to your MetaMask, and then
You
get scammed.
know, the degen inside me was like cringing, but yeah, I knew that it's a good thing. They are onboarding people. More people are coming into the space due to these drops. And this is how a lot of people kickstarted their NFT collections. Do you remember your first NFT?
Gosh, I think it was. Gosh, I have to check. One of the earliest ones I got was Joe Soren, who is again one of my favorite artists. He's left the space for now. A really respected artist. I'll pin his work up. A really respected artist in the traditional art world, and I could not believe he was just casually minting on OpenSea. I just couldn't believe it. So I grabbed a lot of his work, and then some the guy behind Ghosts picks some up, and Dingaling picks some up. Mondois, I think, picks some up. This is really early days, and yeah, those are the good old days. But yeah, something like that was one of my earlier uh, collections for sure, on ETH at least.
Mm. I want to grab on something you said earlier that uh, the sorry, my phone started ringing.
Okay.
Apologies. It's only mobile for Twitter Spaces, so I cannot control it. I just sorry about that. So yeah, where was I?
Oh, I think you wanted
Yeah,
to pick up on something. Sorry,
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
I didn't hear
So
what you said.
I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, oh yes, I know what I wanted to say. Before we get into your art, your photography, and your career, how have NFTs changed your life from the inside out, and how have you felt that whole difference and that new movement, art movement taking over the world? Because you had a very unique perspective being part of the traditional art world, but having also a foot into technology and gaming and
Yeah,
being interested in it.
yeah. Well, I've always found, um, I cannot stand intellectual snobbery. I hate intellectual snobbery. And a big part, as someone that's been very lucky in my professional life outside of Web3, I've got to the 1% of the 1% of photographers, and if not the most visible photographer in the world right now, I'm definitely up there. And what that means is that I've been in all of the rooms with all the top curators of most of the leading museums in the world. I have seen the behavior of people in the traditional art world. And yes, there are some lovely people, but the amount of gatekeeping and what I call emperor's new clothes, the amount of mediocrity I've seen in the most powerful rooms made me realize that what if the next Jackson Pollock or Gordon Parks is not as lucky as me? What if they don't have access to the curators that live in New York or London or Paris? What a tragedy it would be to have future geniuses, future people that are meant to show us the fidelity of the human condition through their art. What if they drop their paintbrush or their camera or their iPad and take another career because they haven't been chosen by a small collection of people who have never created anything themselves in their lives?
No, they didn't fit the mold, right?
They didn't fit the mold. They don't speak the right language. They have a heavy accent. They have the wrong skin color. They worship the wrong god. They are women. I could go on all day. And
Mm.
what I loved about the irrevocable proof of provenance and the possibility of smart contract enabled art and collectibles is the democratization of merit based opportunity for artists that deserves to be supported. And that's always going to be 90% of my effort in this space, is to help artists really have a fighting chance of having a career with this technology. My own art is fine. I'm lucky that I'm fine in the traditional realm. And if I mint something or I don't, it doesn't change my life so much. But I think this technology can change millions of people's lives if we do the right thing with it.
I love it. I remembered, by the way, what I was going to ask earlier, and it has to do with your reply here. So, as you said, you minted the artist. You didn't expect to find on OpenSea, and this catches on with exactly what you were saying now, that having access, to everybody, every artist in the world, it's incredible. And it opens the door not for so many new artists, but also for established ones to create new connections.
Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely, and it's just more fair if if we are careful with who becomes the leaders in this field. We have to be really
Oh,
careful who. Well, you and
yes.
I have complained. We've complained in the DMs many times about
We
some of the
have talked
madness.
about
Yeah,
this so many
yeah,
times. Yeah. Well, this is the whole like purpose of our project, to educate, and like similar to what you are doing with your work. I see you always putting others in front and promoting other artists, and artists that people cannot hear their voices, as you said. So yeah, fighting that. That old mindset of like just commercial stuff. Boom, here it is in front of you. Shut up, fuck you, buy it. Yeah, we're definitely against that. And it's beautiful to connect with other people who also see it like that, and they are also super established, such as yourself. I mean, if you think about it, right now we are a little bit spoiled, aren't we? We can like DM and have access to any artist that we love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
It's yeah, it's unique. That this opportunity. I do wish it wasn't on Twitter. I think in the future, I'm watching Manifold really closely to see what they're building. I think discoverability for a lot of artists is a huge problem. You can't sell. It's also really hard for the mental health of artists to be on spaces 24/7 begging, you know, whoever they think these collectors are to buy their art. I don't like that culture at all.
but I want to pick your mind here about this problem. I wrote an article, a bad one, but the idea of the article was good. So, are you familiar with the Pareto principle?
No, I don't
Yeah,
think I
it's
am. No.
basically the rule of 80/20. So basically, there is an unwritten rule in nature that it has the 80%, 20% distribution. Like 80% of the bees will create 20% of the honey, and 20% of the bees will create 80% of the honey. So this like translates to many areas in nature and finance. So basically, 80% of the artists make 20% of the money, and 20% of the artists make 80% of the money. If this is more or less apparent in nature, in socioeconomics, why is it a problem? Ethically, I understand why it is a problem, but how can we fix it, if it's a natural process?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I think having seen the 20%, or I would say 5% that control the art world that I deal with, I've seen that a lot of it is by design to keep the system as it was, to support an industry that hasn't changed for hundreds of years. And one of the things that I have seen that excites me most about smart contract enabled transactions, it is truly completely borderless, and it isn't controlled by three billionaire owned social media platforms that can wake up today and deplatform you or reduce your reach in an algorithm. So it does. This is a revolutionary moment that maybe even goes against the nature of what you're suggesting. And then having had the liquidity that I've been able to have by curating the Tezos Foundation permanent collection, I was, granted £1 million to spend on artists, and I've seen what this world could look like. I've seen it, it firsthand, and distributing that kind of liquidity to a much broader range of artists, and seeing what they do with it and how they deploy it back into the community and the macro and micro economies that they create by supporting the people that they are coming up with has been an extraordinary observation. And it's a far cry to the sort of pump and dump stuff that I've been seeing on, particularly on the ETH side of things, by people that, they know the game and they school the game, and they know that there's always people coming in from the bottom that are new to this space that are, either aspirational and or desperate, and they take advantage of that. So I've seen, and I don't know if my utopic way of doing things is going to 100% work, but even if it works a little bit more than the world that we are all running away from, it will change a lot of lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. I have spent countless hours pondering about that there is no real answer. I mean, like, even though, like, nobody can argue that traditional art is rotten, and it's a very old system. It's not going to change. You know, it's a representation of like how things work in the art market, and we see that also happening in the NFTs. So it's not like the utopia the decentralized utopia we all dreamed of, where everyone is selling, but these rules apply, the 80/20 applies. So what would be a perfect world where artists get rewarded fairly? I don't know what would a system like that would look like. That is like such a difficult thing to even imagine, you know? If everyone is selling and if everyone is having a career, then who's not? And
I
is
don't
there
think it's so
enough
much
attention?
I don't think it's everyone having a career. I think it's just
Hmm.
a little bit, a little bit more than a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of people holding a huge sum of liquidity, and a lot of those people have a very, very similar worldview. You know, I've always said we need to be careful who our kings and queens are in this space because that will dictate what this space becomes. You know, I've broken every rule you can imagine to get to where I've got to as a photographer. No gallery looks after me. I'm not represented by a major photographic agency. I have gone against the grain in every single step of my journey, and it's led me to an incredible place to have the influence that I have now. And I've realized that, you know, we are made to feel that the system is supposed to work in a certain way, and if you do something, you will either be forgotten or an outcast. And I am living proof that you can thrive by taking the road left traveled, and you can bring other people with you whilst climbing up. And this technology makes it even more possible than some of the things that I've been doing in the more traditional realm.
Yeah, practicing what you preach. I love it. How did you first get into photography?
Photography, yeah. So I have been obsessed with imagery my whole life, and I always would talk about films and photography to all my friends. And then my wife got bored of me obsessing over all my idols, and she bought me a camera for my 40th birthday. I, you know, didn't really use the camera that much until a year later, about 3.5 years ago now. I taught myself how to really understand imagery on YouTube. So I I taught myself on YouTube, and I had my first child. She was premature, and the trauma and fear of being in the custody of something so vulnerable allowed me to hide behind the lens onto the lens showed me how to become a father. And that's when the quality of my photography just jumped and jumped and jumped. But I'm completely self-taught. I've only been taking pictures really in the last 4 years properly. And everything that's happened to me has been a roller coaster that I can barely process, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. What a story, man. What an origin story. Yeah, and you already in those years you took some really historic pictures that will be referenced for the ages.
Thank you, thank you. I'm just in New York. I'm going to the airport soon, but I've taken something that is, yeah, even by my crazy life, incredibly historic that I can't wait to share with all of you. But yeah, I became the first black man in September 2020 to shoot the most important cover in a long time for British Vogue. It took 104 years to have a person that looks like me to shoot a cover for Vogue, and that propelled me into a world where I am at the tip of the spear of civil rights, so climate change, anti-racism, gay and trans rights, just about anything that I feel my should bear witness to. And then I am one of the leading, if not the leading, celebrity portrait photographers of this generation, shall I say? So that's all happened in the last 4 years.
Wow, what a journey. And NFTs and auctions and helping artists and wow, crazy.
Well,
Um,
it's all linked. It's all linked to, you know, if this happened to me when I was 25, maybe I wouldn't know what to do. But I'm in my mid 40s, and I understand life has beaten me up enough to understand the privilege of my platform. and I have to use whatever reach that I have to try and help those, just like I was helped. And I've seen what happened when I got just a little bit of help, and I was led into a room, and now I'm trying to do the same. It's not easy. A lot of times I'm forcing the issue to people that don't want to hear, but we have to keep swimming upstream.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Can, I don't remember who was it in a chat. I think one of those days they said a photographer is an impatient painter. What are your thoughts? Give us a little bit of an insight behind your process and how do you take a photo and your whole artistic process behind it.
Well, I'm very neurodiverse. I have dyslexia. I've got ADHD. I have this crazy photographic memory, and I have a obsessive love for the history of photography. So, before I ever held a camera, I would read every book about, I mean, Eve Arnold, Mary Ellen Mark, Nan Golding, Gordon Parks, Manita Sleet Jr. I've gone all day. So I was, mainlining, if you like, these incredible poets of light, and the legacy they have left, and the importance of the secrets of humanity that lie between the highlights and the shadows. So I really knew about the respect you need to have for holding that machine, the seemingly inanimate object, before you take any picture, which meant that as soon as I started doing photography, I understood the importance, at least for my style of photography, to be a custodian of truth, to look for the stories that humanity has left for me to try and be an observer of, to remind those that see my images who we can be at our best and at our worst and everything in between. So my process isn't, I don't think I'm a very technical photographer. I don't, I don't really believe in too much Photoshop. I rarely retouch my images unless the client demands, and I usually fight with the client. But 99 of my images have never been retouched. I love shooting with natural light. I do some studio photography, but if I can take my subject outside, I love it. So very old school, similar to a lot of my heroes that were out there in the field shooting in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So that's the sort of imagery that I make.
You mentioned a lot about your work in the civil rights movements, and we see your work on social media, helping communities and uplifting others. Is there a point in your life that passion for philanthropy came to be, or was it always there with you from the beginning?
I think it was there. I first fell in love with photography by looking at civil rights images. Those were the images that made me realize that photographs were much more than birthday parties and wedding pictures. I have always been drawn to that sort of photojournalistic imagery. And then, of course, I loved, Cecil Beaton and Richard Avedon and all the great fashion photographers. And many of those photographers did a lot of civil rights work. Cecil Beaton's photography of the Blitz in London he did that before he shot any Vogue cover or before he shot for the royal family. So that made me realize that there could be a multiplicity to my image making. I'm one of the few photographers in the world that is able to do civil rights work with the royal family, work with the fashion world, work with the film world, and then I can get on a plane and go to Somaliland. I'm an ambassador for Save the Children, and document the famine in East Africa. These to me, there's a fluidity because I'm doing storytelling and all of those things, and I've refused to be siloed or categorized as one thing. I tell stories, whether it's in film, fashion, disaster response, philanthropy, it's all the same thing for me.
Wow, some great trips you might have done, right? Somalia, that must have been wild, right? How
It was
how
hard.
was it there? Yeah.
It was heartbreaking. The most
Mm,
difficult thing I've ever done in my life. We're going to lose 2 million babies, 2 million children under the age of 5 by the beginning of the summer, from starvation, um, brought on by the Western world's use of technology. The Somaliland accounts for 0.01 of greenhouse gases, yet it's suffering its fifth year of drought, which has come from climate change. It has hyperinflation of grain because of the war in Ukraine, and it's been a perfect storm. And the people that are suffering are the children that were, by the mere lottery of life, born into a hellscape. So it was really important for me to take my camera and show these amazing people with all the grace and humility that they are trying to hold on to, and tell the world that we must not look away. But unfortunately, many news stations and celebrities will rather post about innocuous things that really don't mean much, whilst these people are struggling to hang on to their dear life. So I will continue supporting the people of that region with my imagery, and I will keep lobbying governments and interest groups and the average person to do what they can to help the people in that region.
mm. On Ethereum and in general in crypto, when there is a big disaster or a big humanitarian crisis, we see people start to move and sending money and in different philanthropies. Um, like we saw recently with Turkey or Ukraine. But besides the giving block, there is nothing else on Ethereum, or I don't know, not much happening on that area. Do you think that's gonna change? How do you see the philanthropy?
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
giving blocks is great, and I, I think philanthropy. This is the thing. We always talk about art and collectibles, but what I excites me as much as anything is what we can do in education, what we can do with immigration, disaster response with this technology. Once KYC is really sorted, because a lot of the big charities that I deal with are really worried about KYC in terms of being able to receive donations. They need to know who's sending it. Once that's being streamlined and can be used broadly by the larger, like Medicine Sans Frontières and the UN Food Program, all of these, I think it could be a very powerful way to receive a new pool of liquidity that can move very, very fast. I've seen some
yeah,
amazing things done by people in the TES community in Ukraine, getting liquidity over to students very, very fast. We're doing something in Tezos, not we, the people of Tezos are doing something amazing now for the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and a lot of money is being raised as we speak. So it can be done, but it needs to be done in a scale that the major charities can implement it directly to how they fundraise on a daily basis, which hasn't happened yet.
and also transparency is important. Everybody can do a Google search and see how inefficient, to put it lightly, those philanthropic organizations are, with sometimes only 10% reaching the actual people that are in need. So I hope we see advancements there, and Web3 also offers an alternative to that. What sort of artists inspired you, since we are talking about others, in the traditional art world and then now in the NFT space, speaking strictly about crypto artists?
Oh, okay. So, what kind of traditional artists inspire me?
Yeah,
Is that what you're
traditional
asking?
artists
Yeah.
and crypto artists.
Okay. Well, traditional. I mean, my God. Well, I mean, one artist that's always blown my mind. Let me try and pin something. Is Henry Osawa Tana. And let me just do this. And his image, the thankful poor, has always made me weep. It's one of those images that if you understand the history of especially African Americans and how their story has or hasn't been told through art, to see these images, yeah, they would break me in many ways. Extraordinary painting with so much meaning, and when you look at a painting and you don't need anyone to explain to you the avalanche of emotions that come from it. That's art at its zenith, art at its very finest that you can't defend yourself against. I think it's just astonishing. In terms of crypto artists, I mean, so many. I love what Sam Spratt is doing. I think he's a very, very, very special artist. There are people like Lewis Osborne from Tezos that I love, Tanya Ravilis. Really, really great. I'm going to share some of these because I don't know how whether you know all of these artists because there are multiple chains.
Well, we are learning.
So here we are. I'm pinning quite a few of them up now, so you can see. The Argentinian professor, Dr. Alexandra Verdicia, is one of my favorite artists as well. If you don't know him, you really, really should. A really special talent that hasn't minted in a while. I'm praying he hasn't left this space. But yeah, there's so many brilliant crypto artists, and I am a DJ, and I love quite a few like PFP collections as well. I'm a big fan of Chimpers. I love what Shaka Blood's doing. There are some really good projects out there, and it's not about the floor price. It's just about the community, the talent of the artist as well. I'm really liking Jeremy Booth, what he's doing with the kind of cowboy themed work that he's doing at the moment. I think he's someone that we should all keep a close eye on. I see today he just announced a partnership with Wrangler Jeans, which is a perfect partnership. Very, very clever of Wrangler to team up with him. I think he's going to do really, really well. His boots I think they're doing really strong volume, and his open edition has done really, really well as well. So those are just some of the artists that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah,
Wow.
Can I jump in a little bit?
Yeah. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, we had Dan Sickles yesterday, by the way, and he has also amazing project with PFP combining fundraising, if you are ever Misan with it. But I want to ask something else. I want to ask, as you are a gamer as me, so how about the NFT scene with gaming? Is there anything to watch or something exciting coming up? Because now, yeah, seems to be just for sake of the game, but nothing much that would excite us or keep us playing it.
Yeah, I'm not excited about much. Like remember like a year ago, everyone that minted out said they're going to build a AAA game. I'm like, are you crazy? It costs $300 million to do that. If you're lucky to get the gaming talent, right? And what excites me about gaming isn't AAA gaming. It's more competitive gaming that is properly
exactly.
Exactly.
That's such a good reply, man.
If I could play Street Fighter, let's say I think I'm good with Ken or Ryu or Dazzlin, yeah, and we pick our characters, and I could bet 0.5 ETH that I can kick your ass, and you're like, no, I'm the best, and you put your ETH, and there's a leaderboard that is on the blockchain, and as soon as I've lost or I've won, the money automatically is sent into my wallet, and there is a full win and loss leaderboard for everyone to see. I think vintage gaming with blockchain-backed wagering and leaderboards could be huge because it takes no processing power to do a vintage game. Everyone thinks they're halfway decent at them. And I think it could be a multi-billion-dollar industry. I've heard rumors that certain big Japanese gaming companies are looking into that. They're looking into the legalities, of course, of people being able to actually, wage crypto. But somebody told me that the gaming companies don't even have to do it. Someone can build something that sits on top of it themselves. Also, I'm an online poker player, and I'm amazed that PokerStars, which is the biggest online gaming company, poker company in the world, hasn't just started doing blockchain PokerStars globally, where you could buy in with whatever ETH or Tezos or Cardano or Bitcoin that you have, and play tournaments or cash games with the crypto that you have. So I'm sure there are lots of regulatory issues behind all of this, but anyone that wins that, whoa! I mean, FIFA or NBA 2K, where people have leaderboards and they can show how good they are in the world, and you can have limits of what people wager for gambling. The same regulation as gambling can be applied to this in the future, but I think there's a multi-billion-dollar situation there as well.
You are a man that really gets gaming, man. I agree completely with everything you said, 100%. That's exactly how I view it, and it's so impossible for any little tiny project to make any game. If it was easy to throw money, let's say, if they even raise money and make a game, and they raise more than enough. Like, if that was the case, then every studio you would see would be putting out masterpiece after masterpiece. Yet they flop quite frequently, as we saw
Yeah,
lately. So
it's very
it's
hard,
not.
very hard.
Mhm. Exactly. So that's why I also never believed in the metaverse, because I was like, man, if Minecraft just puts on NFTs into their system, they have it. It's done. That is the metaverse for like millions of people, uh, which is much easier than having a project build Minecraft on NFTs. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
just
I mean, when Nintendo are very controlled, but because they know they don't have to rush. But if they decide, and when they do come into this space, it will be completely walled. It will be probably on a
mm,
private blockchain. But
mm,
trust me, they don't need, I mean, they can have multiple metaverse like experiences with the IP they already have. It's as simple as that. I went into the innovation center at Epic Games, the guys that created Fortnite and own Unreal Engine, and they showed me some of the stuff that they have coming out in the next few years. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable what you can build with their tools that they're soon to be releasing. So, I think exactly as you said, a real metaverse experience is going to be from these billion-dollar companies that already have everything we think a metaverse is, and then they can build blockchain technology into it rather than the other way around. Absolutely. If
mm,
you look at the unique users on Decentraland, Sandbox, there's no one there compared to
yeah.
any of these companies. And do you know how many people are using Fortnite right now? I mean, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah, not just Fortnite, but also other games that have this metaverse element and huge player bases. It's impossible, man. Like no Web3 game ever got a player base that actually played the game, and it was the game that brought them there. So yeah, it will be, as you said, there is a space for competitive gaming, retro gaming, card games,
And also,
like how. Sorry,
sorry,
go ahead, Dudley.
also the games as like art medium. You know what like Mitchell F. Chan is doing for.
Mm,
It can be small project. It doesn't need to be massive AAA games with million players, but it's a form of how to actually say stories and basically express yourself. Like
mm,
what I like about
like,
games is if they are really like interactive art. Basically, everything comes together. Game design, visuals, music, sound. It's all like a
complex artistic collaboration.
or exactly
Mm,
what I would like to see.
100%.
And by the way, wink, wink. Our latest gazette is a video game.
I
Exactly.
can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's out. It's out. You can pin it up, Dudley.
It's
Um,
and we will
it's the
mention.
first ever magazine cover that is a video game. playable video game. And Dudley
Wait,
and
Dudley, are you the dude that does all the covers for Red Lion?
yeah, he does all the covers with
Oh my
Amal.
God. Oh
And
my
this
God.
cover
This
was
is,
done in 48 hours, man. We designed the game and it has sound design and everything.
but can we just give Dudley, I mean, you are a flipping genius, man. Like you've never missed on any of the covers. I've seen them all. I mean, to the folks that are in this room, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but you need to get on OpenSea or get or directly to the Red Lion website and look at every cover that Dudley's done. He's freakish. I don't even understand if he's human. Wow. Honored,
Shout
honored.
It is our life's work, man. He's incredible.
Just shout out to Amal, who's doing these covers with me since issue 56, I believe, and we are collaborating on them. So some week he's working on it, and just I'm doing the art direction, let's say, and some weeks it's my work.
Amal, where's Amal from?
Amal's from
India.
it.
From India.
Yeah, he's the
Love
nicest.
it.
He's
Love
man.
it.
You need
Oh,
to.
Yeah,
that makes me very
you will
happy.
love the stories. We found Amal. He was doing some art, and Bartasian DM'd me, "Hey, it's this artist, check him out." And he only put like three designs up, but it was obvious that he studied that particular illustration and he knew what he was doing. And we were like, "Yeah, let's do an art drop." We did an art drop, and then we hired him. And yeah, it was great. We started, we hired him, we got him a PC and all the gear he needed to do art. And since then, man, it's like we found a new brother in the team. Um,
Amazing. Amazing to
clicked
hear.
with Dudley perfectly.
Yeah, he's my Padawan and my best friend. Definitely. We never
Yeah,
met really. We will definitely. We will in the future, I believe. So yeah, that's a great story with NFTs that we are getting together. I wouldn't be able to actually do all of this. I would spend my life in a marketing agency doing 9 to 5 desk job, and now having blast with creating what I want and yeah, meeting people that
we are
like.
getting wrecked all together now.
Well, let's hold steady and see what the future holds. You know, I think we're still in a really interesting space.
hmm I want to say thank you to everyone who's listening. I see so many familiar faces and new listeners. Very happy to see you. If you have a question and you would like to join the conversation, just raise your hand and we will pass on the mic for a few questions. Let me jump back, take us into a couple more questions before we close, and if we have some audience members that would like to join, happily have them on. My question is about the collectors of photography. Um, why I was a little bit skeptical about NFT photography, people saying, "Oh, it's going to be the next thing," like 1 year ago, if you remember, when there was a little bit of a surge for NFT photography. I was very skeptical because even in the traditional art world, there are no like. Maybe there are, but not many pure breed photography collectors. It's usually an art collector that might buy some photography. Um, do you think that in Web3 we have finally the power to change that and
Yeah.
have
Yeah. The answer is yes. I think it's bigger than that, my brother. I think it's possibly the most important medium of all, and I can tell you why. The value of photography in the digital era was decommoditized principally by Martin Zuckerberg. He used images to create his empire. You know, there wouldn't be a Facebook as we know it, and certainly not an Instagram as we know it, without the images that were poured down that pipe. But what that did is it meant that imagery itself, JPEGs, were just severely undervalued. And what's I believe could really happen is the single biggest onboarding tool for people that I've been meeting in public places talking about this technology has been showing them NFTs of photographs, because the photograph is the one medium that you don't have to explain to anyone. It's such an easy jump for someone to look at an image. This is before me telling them that it's sold for zero point 0.1 ETH or 80 ETH, but saying that this is, a collectible image that is either an edition or one of one that has irrevocable proof of provenance and gives a royalty to the artist that made it. And I give myself as an example that, my last image that I sold at Sotheby's, I have no royalty on. So somebody can sell that tomorrow for £1 million and I will receive £0. And it's such a simple way to explain the power of this technology with a medium that they understand. Everyone posts an image, everyone has a camera, whether it's on their phone or otherwise. So in terms of broad-based onboarding, this is above and beyond secondary value and whether collectors care about photographs. In terms of explaining this technology, I think the medium of photography is going to be hugely important. And when Instagram understands what they're doing, which I don't think they do right now, it could be even more important. Now, going on to what I think is happening with photography in the ETH space, I'm hugely disappointed in general. I think there is too much hypersexualization of images. I think a lot of the images that are selling are by, sort of horny crypto bros that have no understanding of what they're buying beyond it tickling them. And some of the most talented people I see coming out of India and Turkey and beyond, and especially women, are selling for a tenth of that price because, once again, the liquidity lies with a very particular sort of man. And, that is not the direction of travel I think we need in this space.
Yeah, man, 100%. We need all these talented people from the underrepresented majorities to be fairly compensated for their arts and to be recognized for sure. I really hope Ethereum fixes everything. Our dear Lord Vitalik fixes everything. I would like to invite to the stage Habi. How's it going, sir? How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here. Yes, I just had a question for Misan.
Please go ahead.
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of your works, and I've had the honor of having you as a collector in this space, and I appreciate you for that. Um, Honestly, I thank your wife for getting that camera and just putting everything into motion, and just seeing the impact you've had in photography in such a short while.
Thank you.
Yeah, is really amazing. As someone who has done a lot, achieved a lot in your career so far, I just wanted to know what your future goals are as a photographer and how you plan to continue pushing boundaries in this art form. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Just to keep breaking down the walls, I've just done something 3 days ago that is going to put me into an almost unique category in terms of what I've been able to shoot. And I think going forward is to remember the importance of my lens. So I'm always pretty much going to be able to shoot. Next week I have the BAFTAs, then I have the Oscars, and obviously you've seen all my work with Harry and Meghan, and that's just kind of always going to be there. But whilst I'm doing all these incredible things from the public looking from the outside, I have to remember that I need to make sure that I'm doing all the grassroots work. I'm doing work with the prison system at the moment, so I'm spending time with people both in prison and in youth offending places, I'm spending time with women that are survivors of domestic abuse. You know, I will be going to certain conflict zones this year as well. So that's where I believe the multiplicity of my work will be. So yes, celebrity portraiture and capturing the zeitgeist in in popular culture, but always turning my camera back to a world that is seemingly on fire. And if I continue to do that, I hope it will be of importance to people that follow my work.
I would like to say hello to Ibrahim. How's it going, mate? Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hello, Red Leon, Dudley, Misan, and all of my great friends.
Very
Thank you
nice to
so
meet you,
much.
sir.
Hey, man. Hey.
Likewise. Thank you so much for hosting this amazing space and having me as well. And it was great to hearing from all of you, and especially Misan. You know, it's so difficult to find him speaking about himself in spaces. It's so interesting. And yeah, Misan, I want to ask you something. You are a deep person in art and philosophy, and I'd like to ask you, have you ever think about your legacy as a photographer and or artist and what it will be? Yeah, thank you.
Legacy, yeah. I think about it usually when I'm, my two little girls, they're only 4 and 2, when they're asleep on my chest, refusing to sleep in their room. And I think about what I will leave them. I'm really careful on selling my work. Very few of my prints in the traditional art world have ever, I have, I don't know, 100 requests a week from major collectors asking to collect my work, and I rarely sell anything. So I'm holding back on that for now. Even in Web3, I doubt I will mint a one of one this year. Maybe I might do one edition, but there'll be a lot of scarcity in my work. And I will do a big show probably next year. We'll see if I can get it done this year in London and then the US. One of the reasons I was in New York is to meet with galleries and cultural spaces to do a big show, and then I'll do a homecoming to Nigeria and do a big show there. This isn't a show to make money. This is a show to showcase my work, particularly the civil rights work and my observation of youth. So I will try and make those shows definitely free for students and schools to come and see the work that I've done, and try and make it accessible for as many people to understand the length and breadth of the images that my camera has been lucky enough to gaze upon. So as far as my legacy goes, is being really, really careful not to overtly monetize my archive and take my time over it, and then put on big shows that are accessible to as many people as possible.
Thank you so much. It was a great answer as I expected.
Yeah, so you have a show coming up in Nigeria?
Nigeria will be the final part of it. So I need to do a huge show in London, and then New York, possibly LA, and then Nigeria. So this will be in the next few years. Because of the demand from schools, universities, and just fans, I guess I have to find quite serious spaces to do my shows, and it takes a lot of planning, and so I'm not planning all of this, but it will take time.
Yeah. Let's take one more question and let's close after that. So let me see. Oh, there was an error. Okay, I guess. Yeah, so let me see.
It's going to be an interesting year for all of us. I think across all chains, I'm really interested to see what happens. Right now it's just, again, people are just desperate for a win, so everyone's excited about Bitcoin ordinals. Last week it was open editions, and I'm trying to take a bird's eye view to understand what sustainable changes are going to happen. I'm interested in manifolds because what they built has allowed people that don't have a dev background to build stuff that would have cost a lot of money, and if they can put discoverability into open editions, it could be very, very interesting. So
And
discoverability is
yeah,
the biggest thing that I'm worried about. If we can find discoverability and you have self custody with your own contract, then this space is going to get really interesting.
that's what our friend OMZ is working with his project Discoverability. They have check it out, Filtered. We featured them like last week. It's a beautiful project, and he's a big collector himself. Aimed to promote and discover artists that you wouldn't find them in this chaotic Twitter that everybody shouts over everybody. Let me welcome John Paul Val. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, Red Lion. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hi, Misan. Hi, Dudley, and every other person on the space. Yeah, I really appreciate you for hosting this particular awesome space. I think I've actually been listening from the onset, and I will actually say that it's really an inspirational and an insightful one being on this particular space, listening to Misan. Just like Ibrahim said, it's a rare opportunity to have this particular privilege to actually listen to Misan really talk about his professionalism as a photographer and himself as an individual. I think I've actually been on this particular space for a while, and I've been able to see many of Misan's photographic artwork. I really got a question for him. I really know that the space have actually lingered. My question to Misan is. How do you actually relate to your objects whenever you are really capturing your object? Because I believe that as a photographer, one of the success of actually having a qualitative photographic work is actually relating to your object. How does it feel to actually relate to your object, and what do you have to say about that?
I think it's a great question. I mean, I feel it's the most important thing. So I'm very protective of my subjects in many ways. I try and have a small group of people around them, and really have a discussion. And in some shoots that I've done, the shots have all come in the last 10 minutes. So imagine I have 2 hours with someone. For example, with Kate Winslet, we were chatting and spending time getting to know each other, and then the shoot all happened, in the the last part of the day, just as the sun was setting, which is perfect. And the images speak for themselves. It's so important to sometimes put the camera down, and that itself will lead you to the image that you're looking for. Everyone has a different way, but I'm very, very clear when I meet someone that it's about a human connection, and them having enough trust in me to give them a little bit of themselves, and knowing that I'll be a worthy custodian of a little bit of their soul. And I've just pinned a few of those images there.
Okay, that's really beautiful. Thank you very much for that ideal response. I so much appreciate that. I appreciate.
Thank you, mate. That was a great question. I was trying to pass on the mic to Mahira. She was trying again, but I don't know why
No,
it's not allowing her to talk.
She's rugging. She's trying to connect and just sadly. So
yeah, maybe send the question in DMs. But anyway, I have a final one, and then we will be closing. What is coming for Misan in 2023, as in terms of degen drops? Are you dropping some of your NFTs this year? And if yes, when?
Definitely not degen drops. I look. I'm not going to do any one-of-ones. My one-of-ones. I have a one-of-one on Tez, and a couple of still available on ETH, and one edition piece on ETH. So that's enough for me. I'm really focused this year on building. I've got my media business Culture 3, which is it's got 14 folks meeting, doing podcasts, and showcasing diverse voices in this space. We have a big event coming, which I can't announce, but it will be massive in London. I will announce that soon, which is linked to technology as a whole. And I've just made my first film as a filmmaker, director, and writer. So we're going to be premiering that in a festival in the summer. But another priority is I am the creative advisor to Paramount, the massive media company, on its Web3 strategy. So we're working on partnering with leading artists in this space and some of the Paramount IP. So I have some really special things planned over the next 6 to 12 months with a lot of IP that many of you have grown up with. So that's all keeping me busy. And of course, looking after my friends in the Tezos and Ethereum world that need me to try and support their already brilliant endeavors.
Oh, you are into movies. Me and Dudley are really trying to get into movies now. We had Dan the other day on the show interviewing him, and later on we were like, man, wouldn't it be cool to be in that movie also? And we started talking about it. Maybe one day we will make it. We will be in an NFT movie, Dudley. I promise you.
Yeah. Definitely.
But that all sounds great, man. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us. It was an absolute pleasure. I will invite you back to the show sometime during this year when you get a chance and catch up with you, see what you're up to at the time. Yeah.
Thank you, and it's just so nice hearing your voices and seeing everything that you're doing. I'm sure we will get into some trouble together in the future, and it's just been an honor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man, for coming. And say hi to Megan and H. They are true heroes.
Hey, yeah, those are my family. I will do.
The other day we were watching the document, and my wife and I was like, yeah, this Misan, I know him, he's our Gazette fan and stuff. And she was, what?
Yeah. You had a DJ on Netflix, yeah.
Obama behind some of these PFP, you never know who he's there.
Well, I will. If I see Barack or Michelle, I will let them know that they need to get into Web3. You never know.
Yeah,
show them Red Lion. Show them Red Lion.
Good place to start.
It's on my list of things to show.
The first thing. Hey, Barack, let me show you some Red Lion here.
Yes.
It has been great.
I've got to catch my plane now. So all the best. Thank you so much for having me. And let's catch up soon.
Thank you for coming. Take good care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you everyone for listening. We have another great interview planned for tomorrow, but the roles are changed. We will be getting interviewed, me and Dudley. Dudley and I. And then on Monday, we have another exciting reversed event for you. We have another interview, but this time it's live streaming, and it will be live streamed on Twitter as well. So if you want to see how Dudley and I look like and watch us dox ourselves, that would be Monday. The Gazette is still on. $25 for the first ever.
Oh no! Don't tell dollars.
It's 0.019 or what?
Basically free mint.
Yeah, free mint. Let's say free mint. So yeah, go get the Gazette. Thanks everyone for listening. Love you all. Take good care. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Have a great one.